In May of 2009, our younger son graduated from high school. And my wife and I looked at each other and thought, now what? You know, it's typical that parents kind of drift apart as their kids get older, but this was something even different. My wife had lost something. I don't know why, but she felt like she really wasn't worthy of love. And frankly, it's hard to love somebody if they don't think they're worthy. And I wasn't sure we were going to make it. So in August, when she said she needed to tell me something, I was pretty apprehensive. You can imagine my shock when she told me that she had decided that she was going to go out for the Richmond, Virginia women's roller derby team. Now, I don't know if you know anything about roller derby. I did not. It's a cross between figure skating and professional wrestling. Everybody on the team is in their late 20s, early 30s. My wife has her AARP card, so I didn't know what to think. She told me that practice was Sunday for 3 hours, Tuesday 3 hours, and then Thursday for 2 more hours, so 8 hours a week. Plus, she had to do drills in between. We had led separate lives, so she wasn't asking me, she was telling me, and I didn't know what to think. I mean, I had had a crush on a rugby player named Bailey a long time ago, but I didn't know about being married to a roller derby chick. Well, September came and she started practice. She went to her first practice on a Sunday, 3 hours, and when she came back, she crawled into the house and had 2 words to say: everything hurts. I didn't know if she'd stick with it, but on Tuesday, when I came home from work, there was a note: at practice. And she changed almost immediately. Now, instead of talking about what the kids had done wrong, what I had done wrong, what was wrong with her job, what was wrong with the house, she talked about roller derby. She explained there were 5 blockers and 1 jammer, and the jammer had to lap the other team's blockers to get points. And the way you stop that was knock them on their ass. Everything seemed to revolve around knock them on their ass. You see, they don't have games, they don't have matches, they have bouts. And that every girl, and we don't call them women, we don't call them ladies, we call them girls, every girl had a nickname. And that nickname usually included violence or sex, and if you could get them both together, that was a great nickname. So my wife was a roller derby chick. She was on the fresh meat squad for the Richmond, Virginia River City Roller Girls. And I was so proud of her. And I would tell her I was proud of her, but she wouldn't listen to it. She wouldn't take a compliment. And you know how frustrating that is? You know, I'd tell her, I love you, I'm proud of you. She'd say, you just want to have sex. Now, if any guy in here has a good answer to that retort, I'd love to hear it. Because if you say yes, which is true, you sound pretty shallow. And if you say no, she knows you're lying and you will never have sex again. So what do you say to that? And that's kind of what I mean about loving someone who doesn't think they're worthy. So she would talk about practice and how the different coaches had taken through different drills. She talked about how one of the coaches had taken them through the rules and yelled at him, and her name was Harriet Thumpman. And how another coach had him working so hard that she thought she was going to throw up, and that coach was Busta Hyman. These are all actual names, I swear. And after 3 months, she had a test. She had to take a test to make the team. There was a written test, there was a physical test, and there was actually time trials around the track. So I waited anxiously, didn't know what to think. She came home and said that 4 of the 9 gals had not made the team. I waited and waited. She said, of course I made the team. I worked half my ass off to make this thing. And she had. She had lost about 45 pounds. She was really working hard. And you know how you feel good when you're working out? You feel better? She felt that pride, but you still couldn't tell her anything. I said, let's go out and celebrate. No, it's not a big deal. Yes, it's a big deal. No, it's not a big deal. So now she was officially a member of the Uncivil Warriors roller derby team. Practicing with the team, going to be a blocker. And she'd go to practice, and she'd still have anxiety. And then it happened. Sometime in January, Bruce Hilda knocked her down. Oh, excuse me, that was Malicious Murph knocked her down. She'd be so pissed if I got this wrong. Malicious Murph knocked her down, and she landed on her elbow. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. And she toughed out the last 15 minutes of practice and went to her car and just started crying. What was she doing? She was in pain. Who did she think she was practicing with these other girls? And soon she heard a knock on their windows, and it was Bruce Hill, the captain. And Brucey said, "Are you okay?" Kathy kind of pulled it together, "Yeah. Good thing you didn't cry during practice. The other girls would have killed you. But I expect you back at practice on Sunday. We need you. We need you." Those were the 3 words she needed to hear to come back to practice the next Tuesday or Sunday, and sure enough, she did. Well, you can guess what happened. Time goes forward, and she has her first bout. And they're concerned that the treasury's kind of low, and they're not sure they have enough finances. And the great thing about being older and cheap is when they say they need money, you can call the coach and buy tickets. I bought 50 tickets. But I wasn't going to tell my wife. That's $500. She'd be furious. So once again, I'm telling her I'm proud of her. I love her. This is great. And she says, "No, you're not." And I lose it. "Well, I must be proud of you. I bought 50 damn tickets to your first bout." She was appalled. "What? You did what?" Gave them to people at work, people at the gym, guys at the cigar shop. Everybody's going to be there. She wanted this to be her secret. She wanted this to be her skeleton in the closet. She was furious. You would have thought I'd given her a big bottle of liquid and sold tickets to her colonoscopy like Bill. Gotcha. So sure enough, she had her first bout. My friends are all there. The Make America Great guys were appalled by the transvestite cheerleaders. And they called out her to go on stage, and her maiden name was Freeze, and they called her out as Freezer Burn. That's right, you can't say Freezer Burn. It's got to be Freezer Burn. And I'd love to tell you she did great. She won the game. They carried her off on their shoulders. But it wasn't like that. But when we got home, I told her how proud I was of her, how great it was. She didn't want to hear it. She pointed out everything she had done wrong. I didn't know she'd done anything wrong. And time went by. So I stopped going to her matches, but she kept going. And then it was the end of the season party. And she wasn't sure she was going to go. Why would she go? She didn't really fit in, she felt, and they didn't really care about her. I said, "You're crazy. It's like those things you used to do in high school sports, you know." She said, "No, I don't know. I graduated in 1974. Title IX was signed in 1972. Title IX guaranteed equal access to sports for girls. There were no sports when she was growing up. You were a cheerleader on a spirit team, right? She didn't have any of those things." And I had to explain to her she had to go. So we went, and it was at a bar, bought a couple of pitchers of beer, and all night the other gals came up to talk to her, told her what a great team player she was. And I'm like, "See, they do care about you." She says, "They just want free beer." Well, they started to give out the awards, and the team coaches were up there. And the first award they decided to give was the Spirit Award. And they said, "We usually save this for last, but we wanted to give this one out first." And they talked about how when this gal came out for the team, they weren't sure she was going to make it. They weren't sure she'd stick with it. And she wasn't a loud player. She wasn't the kind of person that encouraged everybody, but she led by example. And you can guess, my wife was looking out to see who they were talking about, and everybody else was looking at her. She won the Spirit Award that year, and they called it out, and you know what they called? Freezer Burn! And when she went home, she started to fall asleep, holding her plaque. And the last thing she said to me is, "I guess I am a badass, aren't I?" And I said, "I don't know if you're a badass, but I love you, and you'll always be my Freezer Burn!"